Hey guys, I'm working my way through the intermediate level character chess bots on chess.com and trying them out and trying to find out what it takes to beat each one. So my next opponent is Vinh from Vietnam, rated 1300. Loves outdoor sports, but when the weather is bad he plays chess instead. He frequently scores goals with the King's Indian. So I'm going to choose him and let's play random. We'll go random colours now. Okay, so I'm white, and I'll start with e4. Alright, so French defence, d4. Comes in with a check. c3 looks natural, and loses a bishop. Okay, bring it. So queen to h4 isn't a check, so I don't have to respond to that. I'm up a piece already, which is weird. So what do we have? We have the queen is attacking e4. The knight is attacking d4, but d4 is protected, so I don't have to worry too much about that. I can't defend the pawn with that bishop because it blocks off the queen's defense. I can block it with a knight. Oh, the knight's also attacking this piece. So can I defend them all? Or should I... Do I have a counterattack? Can I counterattack the knight? Maybe, I mean, b5 looks a bit wild. But then the knight's going to have to move. And I've fixed one of my issues. This pawn's undefended, and it's the more important of the three pawns because it's central. So I'm thinking maybe knight to c3 means that these two pawns are protected, and yeah, he might capture on b4. Then I can develop my other knight, kick his queen, because I can't see a way of defending that pawn and that pawn in one move. They can't both be protected by a knight. The only square my queen could go to that would protect both would be either e1 or b7, or there, and obviously they're not viable. So what's the best move? I think maybe developing the knight. Develop the knight out, give up this pawn. Okay, whoa. Vinh is a player. You are a player, my friend. Okay, so I'm thinking now, knight to f3 is good because it comes with tempo, because it's kicking the queen. This pawn is defended, so I'm going to play that. It's also adding a second attacker to that pawn on e5. So this pawn here has now 1, 2, 3 attackers and only 1, 2 defenders. So d5 looks like an idea. D takes e5 looks like an idea. I'm still a piece up because he's somehow sacrificed his bishop early on. What do I want to do? See, if I push the pawn, he's likely just to capture on there. Or do I add another defender? Bishop to e3. Looks like a useful move. Or even bishop here. Hit the queen again. Kick that queen. Like to play with initiative. Alright, so now we've got an interesting situation. We've got actually the queen and the knight now looking at this undefended pawn. So one idea is maybe push a3 and defend the pawn. But we've also now got 1, 2, 3 attackers against d4 and 1, 2 defenders. So the bishop could come back there, or I could just push the pawn, or I could capture. So let's think this through, right? If I push, knight takes b4, and I'm in a decent position. I've got better development, and I'm I've got a bishop for a pawn. That's not bad at all. If I take, we could have knight takes, and we could exchange knights. That's not going to do me any harm. It means the queen would then be there hitting this bishop, so the bishop might have to move. That's not too bad. Or is there another counterattack? I mean, one idea, knight to b5. Look at that. So that's hitting the queen and it's hitting c7. Now the great thing about c7 for a knight is comes with a lovely fork. And if my knight goes there, then there's no square that this queen can get to where it's still protecting c7. So, however, I've just seen a tactic. If I put my knight there, it looks like it's deadly, but look, queen takes b4, right? Comes with check, right? And then, if I block the check, well, the only way I can is to move the knight back. So that plan is not a goer. It's not viable. I've got b5 as well. b5 is a potential move. But remember, we've got a 3 against 2 on this pawn, so he could capture with a pawn. If I take knight, he takes knight. Hey, hey. So let's get back to pawn takes e5. Pawn takes e5 is pretty safe. Yes, there may be a trade of queens. Yes, knight may capture on a4, which case I could, so b4, then I can push that. I think that looks like the safest option. See, in a blitz game, I might have gone for this idea and then fallen foul. Okay, so we've got an exchange of queens, and I'm going to recapture with the rook, because the rook is going to be happy. It's his happy place, center of the board on a semi-open file. Okay, you kick at a bishop, huh? You kick at my bishop. He's from Vietnam. I don't know why I'm doing it in Italian accent. Okay. So the bishop could linger on this side of the board. A weak square is c7. So maybe bishop to here might be an idea. Then I can push a pawn and then capture on c7, leaving him with a broken pawn structure. That might be good. He still hasn't taken this pawn. So, okay. Vinh is confusing me. Right, I've got no risk right now. I'm just going to push a3 and defend this pawn. He doesn't seem at all interested in capturing it, but hey ho. One day he may decide that that's his idea. Whoa. Tempted to play knight d5 again, trying to have a poke at c7. How can he defend c7? Oh no, he's attacking my bishop again, of course. Right, let's just drop the bishop. See, this knight is defending this pawn, and this pawn is almost like a kamikaze anyway. So how about I just drop my bishop back here or here? Which is best? That's best, I think. And the king's moved. Okay. This dude is trying to confuse me. I'm going to throw my knight in now. Potentially it's a free pawn. So I can capture and I can always move back to d5. It's safe. Okay, so I've hit the rook. So now I'm 5 materials in front. I'm up actually 2 pawns and a bishop. So let's capture on there. It's another free pawn. Now he's coming for my knight. I do have bishop to there, but it's going to be faced with f6. Now what that would mean is then I've got 2 pieces under attack by pawns at the same time, and I won't be able to save both of them. So I think moving Mr. Knight is sensible. Could move it here and see if he wants to exchange. Exchanges are all going to be good for me right now. That's another square where it could move to f5. Let's just keep it simple and put it in the middle of the board. Okay. don't think I've had a more surprising game against the bots so far. Vinh is really playing a load of moves that I could not predict. So I'm conscious now I haven't castled, and I can. So this knight's not really under threat. It's actually on an outpost. It can't be hit by a pawn. This pawn is kind of okay. I could push that pawn to shore up the middle, just get a bit more space in the middle, or I should maybe think about castling as well, which means bringing out my light square bishop. So let's just move it out to here. I want it to be pointing towards black's king, towards that corner. So the most normal squares look like this, these two. Again, I don't... Ooh, or should I just take the knight? Now, if I take the knight, bishop takes. So that was the purpose of this move, right? It's so that he can recapture with the bishop if he wants to recapture. I also have knight to here with check. Let's do that. So if he swaps his bishop off, I'm happy. Yeah, okay. Because I can always now... I really thought that rook was coming to e8 with check. Because if I block with my bishop, then I can't immediately castle, because my king would be the only defender of the bishop. I'm confounded. I mean, I'm clearly in a winning position, but I don't understand this computer's mind. That's the problem. You're playing a lunatic. Now, the man is utterly mad. You're playing a lunatic. That's the problem. He's a brilliant lunatic. You can't tell which way he'll jump. You can't dissect him, predict him, which of course means he's not a lunatic at all. And if you know your musical theatre, that was a excerpt from the beginning of the stage show Chess from the 1980s, written by Benny and Bjorn from ABBA with lyrics by Tim Rice. Okay, so in a very, very good position. Materially, I'm very good. My king is castled. Black is attacking that pawn one time, and I'm defending it currently twice. I could put my knight here and try and trade off with this knight, which is okay, because the bishop's still, although it's blocking the rook's defense, the bishop's still defending. I think that looks okay. I want to simplify now, so let's get these knights off the board. If we can get down to a position where it's just a couple of rooks against, like 2 rooks and the bishop against 2 rooks, should be good. Right, this pawn is now under attack. I can defend with my bishop. If the king moves over here, I've got checks and discoveries and stuff like that. Okay, centralize the rook, I think, because I noticed that the king and the rook are on this diagonal, so I'd love to get my bishop on there and swap it off for a rook if I can. So before I do that, I have to be able to put it on that square, which is unprotected. So I'm going to move my rook across, and the next thing I need to do is kick this knight away, because the knight is protecting that square. So let's move the bishop. This does not concern me. So this is good for me. It's now blocked off that part of the board. Hit the knight. If he swaps off rooks, then the plan is still go. Now I can't put my bishop there again because of the rook in the way. The knight is also threatening to come into f3 with a fork. So I'm going to swap off rooks. That removes the issue of the fork. Yeah, okay, so he's now attacking the king and h2, so I'm in check. I can come to h2, h1, which looks alright. Okay, there's a threat then if he captures the rook that he could come in to here, but then we just exchange rooks, so nothing to fear there. I can also block with my bishop on e3. And I like the look of that. Yeah, I think that looks fine. So now I'm up a solid minor piece and 3 big hairy pawns. Now the king's got ideas of coming in. Now let's say bishop there. Where can he go? So he can't go there, 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 there. Tempting. I've also got this. No, I haven't. King can take. Okay, let's hit the king. Alright, kingy. So my king actually now has no squares. That's one issue. So I'd love to swap off this knight if I can. I'm going to push the pawn. Keep the pressure on. Now if rook goes behind it, okay. So this is now opening up the game, which is what I need. So I want to move my bishop out of the way. I'm going to attack the knight. Knight can't come onto the back rank. Yeah, the knight's actually got no squares at all. Okay, I'm going to take the knight off, break up these pawns, and this rook now is stuck on d8. So I can just attack it without mercy. Queen. Alrighty. Take with the rook. And now this is great because I've got these 2 open files in the middle of the board. So I can now put my rook like here, and this king is now stuck in a small portion of the board. Yeah, king's got nothing. Take en passant. Let's take the pawn. Now I can put my rook on f4, where it's protected by a pawn. So this king now has 8 squares to patrol. That's it. That's all he's got. So now this pawn's got 1, 2, 3 moves before it can cause me any issues whatsoever. Okay, let's come in with the big pieces. Let's come in with a check with a bishop. Gives me some more squares. Check again. This guy's just not going to get time to promote that pawn because there's too many checks. That's a check. And so's that. And he's got to go here. And now surely we're getting close. Yeah. Won by checkmate. There you go. Because the pawn's covering these 2 squares, the rook's covering all the others. Wow. So what can we say about Vinh? Just a random player, and I really didn't understand him giving up that bishop early on in the game, but I think all you need to do is keep a cool head, play your game, don't let him distract you. I don't think it's the strongest of the 1300s. I think the previous one was stronger. It was a female player. I can't remember her name. But yeah, I think you should be able to. If you're rated anywhere around there, 1200 upwards, you shouldn't have too much trouble against Vinh. I think he's all right. He will do crazy things. Just don't let him knock you off your game, and you should be fine. Okay, see you later.